If an inmate were to go and say, I've just had my ribs broken, my nose broken, what happens? Is it covered up?
Basically, yes.
How?
How do they cover it up? Oh, it's easy to cover it up. Cover it up by falsifying documents.
What do you do?
Well, somebody else did it to them. They'll put another inmate in confinement and said that he did it.
Frank Valdez tried to expose that abuse. He was already a marked man, on death row for killing a prison guard. But then Frank Valdez began writing to local newspapers about life inside Florida State Prison.
He gave guards and supervisors the reason to want to shut him up. He was standing up for the rights of other prisoners who were being beaten on a daily basis.
A gang of guards stormed into Valdez's cell. One of them was later given immunity for testifying how each of his colleagues laid into Frank Valdez.
Describe how he was kicking him as best you can.
As hard as somebody could. He was yelling.
Had you ever seen anyone kick that hard before?
Not that hard, no.
What was he saying to the inmate?
He was saying, "Who you gonna kill now, motherfucker? Who you gonna kill now?"
They beat him as bad as a man could be beaten. They stomped on his back and stomped on his front, breaking every rib but two in two different directions. His ribs were like splinters.
The guards returned to beat Frank Valdez a second time. He was eventually found dead in a cell. For once, the press were invited in and told Valdez had hidden a weapon and attacked the officers.
I asked a lieutenant that I knew, I said, what happened? And she said to me, Karen, have you ever seen a shark in a feeding frenzy? It just got out of hand.
What was the talk among officers?
Oh, it was panic. It was chaotic. It was, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to protect these guys?
Why?
Because we're the good guys.
I went along with the cover-up story.
Were the reports false?
Yes.
Did everyone know the reports were false?
Yes. If I knew he was going to die, I would have never. I would have never done that.
Initially, 4 officers stood trial for murdering Frank Valdez. The case was heard in their hometown, Stark.
All rise, please. Circuit Court with the H's.
I knew we would lose.
You understand that charge, sir?
When I went up there and I saw that a chief of the jury, the head juror, was an ex-correctional officer, I said, this is a laugh. I can't believe this is going on.
Wanda knew Frank Valdez for years, but they only got married after he was on death row. And she was right about the outcome of the trial. The guards were acquitted. Charges against 4 more were then dropped. Jury members said later they accepted Valdez was murdered. They just couldn't agree precisely who'd done it.
You can't go out and kill someone and then walk away from it because you're a correctional officer and say, well, he was no good. If we just go around killing people because we think they're no good, that's like euthanasia.
Valdez's family is now suing the 8 guards, as well as the former warden, James Crosby, who's since been promoted. James Crosby is now in charge of all Florida prisons. Twice he was asked for an interview. He refused.
97.3 The Sky.
The whole idea is to discuss the prison system in general. Now, we had
I think perhaps one of the
Despite the reluctance of prison management to take part, there was another way of hearing the views of those working in prisons, by teaming up with the local radio
Who do we
station.
have on there, PC?
Fascist Mike.
Fascist Mike, welcome to the Drive Time Happy Hour. What do you got for us?
They're in prison, as it is right now, for being a burden on society. If getting pepper sprayed is the penalty for whatever their infraction is, then I'm all for it.
Across America, the issue of prisoners' rights is not a vote winner, and definitely not in this corner of Florida. But it's certainly got people ringing in.
Are these widespread?
Who's up, PC?
Well, ladies first, let's go with Heather.
Heather, welcome to the Drive Time Happy Hour. What do you got for us?
Well, I work as a sergeant at Lowell Correctional Institution. It's a women's prison, but I have seen uses of pepper spray there. And in every case except one, I've seen that it was totally warranted. We only use it when we're in fear of being injured ourselves.
The latest figures show the use of chemical sprays in Florida State Prison rose almost 90% in 3 years. This is the heavy-duty end of the penal system. But as you travel across America, you discover there is systematic abuse at nearly every level. Get arrested in Phoenix, Arizona, and you'll end up here, a county jail run by the Sheriff's Department. It's a typical Friday night, full house. Without warning, 2 prisoners start fighting.
Stop fighting! Stop fighting!
The inmates are quickly buried under a mountain of officers. This jail is run by the man who revels in the title America's Toughest Sheriff.
You should not be fighting. You should not be resisting. I'm not going to have my officers assaulted. When these inmates try to assault my officers, we use as much force as necessary.
But more than a dozen officers to pull a man out of a cell, fling him on the floor, jump in on top of him. Why?
What difference whether you use 1 or 10? Doesn't make any difference. We're going to restrain that person.
Another restraint method is the chair. It's intended to stop prisoners like this woman who was brought in drunk, hurting themselves or anyone else. She's shackled hands and feet, and a mesh hood prevents her spitting.
Hey, where are you from?
We're from British Television in London.
British?
Yeah.
Hi, then. Okay, take a picture.
Why were you in the chair? They say that you were trying to cut yourself with a handcuff.
Well, look here. You can put that on video, too.
They'll keep her in there and do 15-minute observations and keep her in there for an extended amount of 6 hours. And then after the 6 hours, she has to come out. But at any time within that 6-hour period, if the nurse claims that she is safe or that she will not hurt herself anymore, she can come out of the chair after that.
I'm thirsty. All I want is a cup of
Okay,
water.
listen to me. I can give you water.
Take this thing off my head.
Okay, I take this off. Why do you have that?
Because I spit on the floor.
A few blocks from the jail, just beyond spitting distance, the American prison industry is gathering for its winter conference. Over 300 manufacturers are displaying products, including several firms who make pepper spray. It's used throughout America.
It comes in 2 styles. This is a horizontal, and there's another one that's a vertical. This one I would simply, if I were going to use it, I'd put it on a sling, put it this way, we pull the safety pin, and then we would spray out. It goes, our distance is about 25 feet of spray that's going to go out.
But here's pepper spray used at close range. Regulations in many states require these so-called use of force operations to be filmed. A teenager in South Dakota punished because he won't remove sheets of paper he's stuck on the cell door. Tapes like this show the brutal reality of life in American prisons. It's a very different picture to the one presented at the Phoenix exhibition.